Hi, my name is Impus, and contrary to popular belief, I am not part of the Black Aces. I just represent their group to seem cool and to look like I know what I'm doing. So, yeah. Here's a full guide to VRChat Aviation. In this first video, we'll be discussing the F-14. Or F-14 Tomcat, whatever the fuck you want to call it. This beauty you can probably find it in every single aviation world. So, it's a good starter. To step into a plane, you will need to approach the plane, stroke it intimately, and a beautiful blue box will appear. You will need to press your trigger, right there, when it says Enter Pilot. When you have entered your plane, you will be greeted by these two discs of options. Pretty interesting. So, what we have here on the left hand is your canopy, cruise control, fly limits, probe, flare, catapult, brake, and altitude hold. On your left hand, you will have your gun, a long distance AAM and a short distance AAM, but these can differ. Bombs can also differ. Gear, flaps, a hook, and smoke. These options can be selected by using your left and right thumbstick to spin around. Now let's go over every single option individually. Let's start again with the left hand. You have your canopy and fly limits, which are by default turned on in an F-14. Your canopy can be selected and deselected to, open and close your canopy. The fly limits option will limit the amount of maneuverability of your plane so you don't stall as easily. When you stall, your plane doesn't have enough lift to keep itself in the air and it will fall down. Most people turn this off to have more control over the plane, but if you like it, you could turn it on, I guess. Your probe is for refueling mid-air. Not every world has this because it's a pretty rare mechanic to find in such worlds. When you select this, a probe on the front of your plane will extend so you can refuel mid-air. Below the probe option you'll find the flare option. Flares can be used to dodge and, trick air-to-air missiles by putting your plane's heat signature somewhere else. By using, flares. You could probably know what these are. Then below your flares, you have your catapult. This is not like a plane. The plane has its own catapult. Aircraft carriers will have one or more catapults on the deck that can launch a plane off of the deck to aid the plane in taking off. On the 6 o'clock, you have your brakes. These are air and ground brakes. This option is trigger sensitive, meaning that it will brake more the harder you press your trigger. Then next to that, we have altitude hold. This option will make your plane hold its altitude as long as you don't touch the joystick. And then last but not least is cruise. This is just literally your cruise control of the plane. Turning this on will put your plane on a certain speed and it will try to keep that speed. You can adjust the cruise's speed by selecting the option, holding your trigger, and moving your left hand backwards or forwards. Then on the right side, you have your gun, long AM, short AM, bomb, blah 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 blah. This side often differs more from world to world and from plane to plane, as not every plane has the same artillery aboard. On the 12 you have your gun. Any plane that has a gun on board has this option. Selecting this option and pulling your trigger will fire the plane's guns. Then to the right of the gun option you have your long AM and short AM. AAM stands for air-to-air missile. These are heat-seeking missiles that can be locked onto and fired to another plane. as long as this plane is in flight or has at least the engines running. The F-14 in this certain world has a long and short AAM, meaning a long distance and short distance air-to-air missile. The long distance air-to-air missile has obviously a longer distance that you can lock onto a plane with than a shorter distance. To fire this, you will have to aim at another plane until the box around the plane turns yellow. Then you can pull the trigger and the missile will send itself. Then next to that, we have the bomb option. I won't be able to select it because it shows this screen, which is a camera on the underside of the plane that shows where the bomb will be dropped. The bomb option obviously just drops a bomb wherever the camera is aiming by pulling the trigger. Then you have your gear and your flaps. The gear is the landing gear of the plane, and the flaps are the flaps on the wings. The flaps aid with taking off on a steeper angle. Then you will have your hook. Not every plane has a hook, since not every plane is meant for an aircraft carrier. The hook can be deployed to catch onto arresting wires on the landing strip of an aircraft carrier to brake your plane whenever you touch down successfully. And then last but not least, on the right side, you have your smoke option. This is an infinite supply of smoke that can be turned on or off as a smoke trail behind your plane. You can turn this on by pressing the trigger, and if it's turned off, you can hold your trigger. It will turn on, and when moving around your hand, you can select different colors on a color wheel. So that's roughly how an F-14 works on the dials. But when you sit in your F-14 and you look to the front, you might notice that there's a heads-up display. The heads-up display will look something like this. When you have on the right hand your gun selected, your flaps up and your gear down, and on the left hand nothing is selected. When you turn on your gear, your hook or your smoke, it will appear on the right bottom corner. When it's yellow, it's still in movement, and when it's green, it is deployed. It will disappear when it's turned off. On the top right, you have your health bar, indicated by HP and a green bar. The lower your health, the emptier the bar. The most top right corner, you have your altitude. The altitude above sea level, now indicated by 64. You also have a wind direction all around the plane, indicating the degrees to the north you are flying. The numbers numbering in a vertical axis are the angle that your nose is pointed at. On the top left, you have your speed, and on the left side, vertically, you have all the information you need about your artillery. Those being the air-to-air missiles, indicated by the longer missiles, and the shorter missiles. This can differ. The amount of bombs you carry, if you carry bombs, and the amount of rounds that you still have left, indicated by a green bar next to a scope icon. Then you have a rectangle and a square. The square indicates the angle that your joystick is pointing at, the cross being the tilted angles, and the line being the rudder. The cross is for your flaps, the line for, as I said, your tail rudder. Then the vertical line next to that square is your throttle. The higher that green bar, the higher your throttle, and if the green bar is fully in yellow, that means you are using afterburners. When you have your gun selected, in the middle there will appear a crosshair with a circle. The circle is indicating where your bullets are going, and if you are aiming at a plane, that circle is indicating where you should need to aim in order to hit the plane. When you have your smoke, hook, flaps or gear selected, this will just be a W. Back to the square, because I forgot something. Next to the square on the right side of the square, there is a star with a number, in this case 60. This is the amount of flares that you have left. Every time you fire your flares, it will go down. Since I'm standing on top of the carrier at the moment, it will be refueling every time I shoot it. To throttle the plane, you have your throttle over here. You can grab it with your hand by using the grip button on your controller, and you can push forward to throttle your plane and pull backwards to throttle down. To use the joystick, you again need to grab it and move your hand according to the movement you want to do. Tilting your hand backwards will make the nose point upwards. Tilting your hand forwards will make the nose point downwards. Tilting your hand from side to side will roll your plane. And spinning your hand around like this does not make the joystick ejaculate. It moves your rudder. It moves your rudder. It won't. You will see a lot of other options on the plane, including a lot of levers. Those are mostly for aesthetics. Now I'll give you a guide on how to use the catapult aboard of a carrier. So most carriers will have a catapult that looks something like this. It's a big, light greyish strip with a weird block somewhere on that strip. In this case, it's over here. To use this catapult, you will need to drive your plane over it with the front wheel. The catapult option will be highlighted. You can select it by using your joystick and then pull the trigger to get launched. The plane will automatically connect to the catapult, so you don't need to like do shit outside of the plane. It will just connect by itself, it will make a clicking sound, and the catapult option will be highlighted. To launch yourself, you select catapult and pull the trigger. You will need to hold on to your joystick in the plane to make sure your plane doesn't still fall into the water. So now you know how to fly an F-14, at least I hope, as long as this tutorial kinda worked. So yeah, I wish you good luck. So that's kind of the how-to on how to fly an F-14 in VRChat. Now a bit of more information: whenever the F-14 is flying above 500 or 600 knots, the wings will fold backwards, so you can go Godspeed. And it will also make the plane kind of smaller, right? So you can fly through smaller things if you want to. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please make sure to like, because if you don't, I'll find your house. Yeah, I will find it. I will find it out, and I'll send everyone that I know towards it. Including this F-14 behind me. Everything will go towards your house and towards destroying it. Am I done? Is that the video? Yeah? Okay. Cool.
Drop it.